My name is Lauren South, and I have the privilege of serving as the Assistant Director of Enrollment Management at Flint Hill, and I work primarily with families applying to the upper school. I'm joined by my colleague, Jordy Izzard, who works with families applying to the middle school. Jordy, give a little wave. Okay, thanks. Thank you so much for spending your Thursday evening with us. In terms of what you can expect tonight, you will hear more about our school's innovative approach and our core values from our head of school, Patrick McConnett. Then you will hear more specifically about our fine arts program from Director of Fine Arts, James Venthouse, and our innovation program from our grade 7 to 12 Innovation Department Chair, Vicki Knickerbocker. We will then introduce members of our fine arts and innovation faculty, along with current students and parents who will share their personal experiences in these programs. At that time, we encourage you to unmute and ask questions to our panelists or type them into the chat. And while we're used to being on mute during these meets, we don't want that to stop you from engaging throughout the event. Feel free to chat in a question prior to the panel segment as well. And Jordy will be moderating that chat, and we will make sure that all of your questions are answered verbally or through the chat. At this time, it is my absolute pleasure to introduce our head of school, Patrick McConnett, who leads us in living our core values every single day while also keeping focus on the long game. I'll turn it over to you, Patrick.
Thanks so much, Lauren. And again, thanks everyone for taking their time out of a busy Thursday evening. Happy New Year. So glad that you're all interested in learning a little bit more about Flint Hill and being able to partake in this event tonight here to learn a little bit about how we approach this innovative mindset. Innovation is one of those terms that you hear bantered around at seemingly every school. And what I really love about Flint Hill coming in as a new person this year is really seeing those words put into action. And I think that that's one thing that as a theme here for Flint Hill, very different from plenty of other really great independent schools that I've been around. We not only talk the talk, but we always aim to walk the walk as well. And I think that tonight's really focused lens through innovation and the fine arts, particularly with our 7th through 12th grades, even though we live that across all 3 divisions at our school, it's going to be a really exciting experience. So thanks for joining us. Again, my name is Patrick McConnett, and I am our new head of school here at Flint Hill. I'm 6 months in on the job, and it's going awesome, and I'm so grateful to be here. I'm also a Flint Hill parent. I have a son in kindergarten and a daughter in our 4th grade, and they absolutely love it. And previously to Flint Hill, I was the head of a K-8 school in Southern California in Orange County. Prior to that, I was the associate head of school at Phoenix Country Day School in Phoenix, Arizona, where I worked with kids across all 3 divisions of a JK through 12 school. And way back when, I was also in college admissions. So I've seen each step of the process, whether it's admissions with 3- and 4-year-olds to supporting kids as they go on to college. And that's helped inform my experience and help support this community as I've come over here to Flint Hill. And it's also one of the main drivers of why I came to Flint Hill, which is to be able to find a place that is truly authentically itself in its wholehearted support of every student and its real desire to live its mission, vision, and approach to being an inclusive community through thoughts and actions. So I'm going to start briefly today, talk about our core values, which I think guide all of the things that we do. I'll speak also slightly to how they work here from this innovative mindset, particularly in our 7th through 12th grade fine arts programs. And then I'll have the joy to turn it on over to James and Nikki to be able to talk a little bit more about what we're doing here in Flint Hill. And then later I'll moderate some of those panels. So our core values. If you're looking at a lot of great schools, you'll notice that every school has its own version of core values. Sometimes they're posters on a wall, and at Flint Hill, we certainly broadcast them loudly, but we also live them on a daily basis. Our 4 core values break down into being respect and value all equally, lead and support with compassion, act with integrity, imagine what's possible, and blaze the trail. What I love about these, I'm a former English teacher, is that they're all actions. It's not just a word or an idea, but it is how we live our core values at Flint Hill that make all the difference. And if I think about these through the lens through which we'll discuss things tonight, respect and value all equally. Right away, coming in here this fall, one of the things that I loved was seeing how in our fine arts programs and how we're learning this, we had a really amazing fall play And we had a lot of amazing kids come out for that play. And I was so impressed by our upper school theater director, who said, hey, listen, I know it's going to be more work, but I want to double cast this. So that way everybody can participate in this experience that really wanted to, instead of having to make those difficult cuts. And so that allows everyone from a wider range of abilities or exposures to performing arts to be able to say, hey, I'm growing, I'm learning in this. And so doing so, we put on some amazing shows with 2 casts. And I loved that there was this lens of equity and inclusion. So that way we could make sure that these kids all had that chance to grow in a really healthy way. So that was amazing. Lead and support with compassion. Some of the ways in which I've seen that is out of our students, and the ways that they use their visual or their performing arts or their innovative mindset to be able to say, hey, it's not just what am I doing with this and how am I learning it, but how am I making it impactful in the lives of others? And so the empathetic needs when I'm sitting there and doing a character study or a drawing or a painting of a subject, and some of our portfolio artwork that I've seen in our upper school, it really is a true character study of what these other people are experiencing and how they are living those things in some of our 2D and 3D artwork. And it really allows our students to really think beyond themselves, which is not always the mindset of typical 12 to 18-year-olds. But building those empathy skills and compassionate skills to recognize that what we do and what we learn can be 2 different things. And it's always about putting that learning into action and making sure that it's impacting the lives of others in positive ways. Act with integrity. I love the freedom that we give our students on campus at all times, particularly in the middle and the upper school. But part of that freedom is the responsibility to really look out for one another, to be able to put down your computer or your piece of 3D artwork or the things that you're doing in a studio or in a maker space, and not mess around, because we give these kids some power tools in that maker space, and we want to make sure that they're using them wisely. And part of living those core values is making sure that we're not hurting one another or ourselves. And so it's neat when you set the bar high for these kids to live up to it and do so in a supportive environment in which, hey, if we make a mistake, I'd far rather you learn from that mistake in a supportive place with a really great middle school innovation teacher who's going to help you with that. And that's part of this whole challenge of, we want to feel free to make mistakes to be able to grow from that. And that's all part of this innovative and iterative process that we do here. And that leads me to my next one. Imagine what's possible. This we live in every area of our academic and social lives. But I think that what I see out of our students in this space specifically, when we look at our fine arts, we are not just a place that says, here's a style of artwork, or here is a style of creativity. We want you to emulate that. We want you to have those foundational basics, no doubt. But what's going to be your spin on that? How are you going to take your personal lens and take that approach and make it your own? And so when I think about some of our visual arts projects or some of our student performances, they are never cookie cutter of one another. They always have their own spin on it. There's always that room, especially at these older ages, for our students to be able to share their own perspective within it. And how does this artwork or this piece of learning connect with themselves? And I think that that creates a greater depth of learning, as well as a greater impact on the culture of our campus as well. Because when we are all thinking in that consistent, innovative mindset, it bleeds over. It's not just in an art classroom or a maker space, or when we're thinking about cybersecurity or anything else, but it can talk about how we're touching upon our history programs or our English, or even down into just thinking through how can we solve a common student social issue on campus. But thinking about those things with a yes and mindset is I think really important for us. And it's supporting our kids to move off into a really complex world where there are some challenging problems that need creative solutions. Last piece, blaze the trail. We're Huskies. We live by this mindset, and we always want to strike out on our own. Like I said, there's a lot of really great independent schools out there, and a lot of whom have been doing the same thing for a number of years really, really well. And while we have a really strong foundation and bright future, we're always thinking about hey, how can we continue to move forward? And we're never a school that's going to sit back and pat ourselves on the back and say, all right, we've got this figured out. So how our students, how our teachers, and how our school culture as a whole continues to model that, hey, trailblazing mentality of what can we do? How can we do this better? How can we make our impact? And in one case here with this that I love, and I see this seemingly on a monthly basis, it's not a direct fine arts piece, but it certainly touches upon our students' innovative mindset through fine arts, is we do an open mic in the upper school relatively once a month. Excuse me. And to have the poise and the confidence as a 17-year-old to stand up and sing a song, excuse me. Wow. To be able to do that in the way that these kids are doing so, I'm sorry, I got to take a second. Really sorry, getting over a cold. To do that in the way that these kids are doing so is really meaningful. And it shows that trailblazing spirit and the support of all of their other peers around them to say, hey, yeah, step out, get your chance in the spotlight. And all of those kids cheer that on. It is really, really valuable for our community. And I think it sets our kids up for success and confidence to tackle those challenging things in life beyond. So that's our big picture on our core values, as well as some of the ways in which we live those here through this innovative mindset in the fine arts and beyond. And I am really excited to turn it over to my good friend, Dr. James Venhouse, who's going to talk to us a little bit about our fine arts programs. James.
Thank you, Patrick, and thanks for being here tonight. I know you're a little under the weather, and I appreciate you powering through that. And when I looked at the agenda today, I was a little worried because following Patrick is never an easy thing to do. He's a fantastic public speaker and a fantastic leader, and he spoke so eloquently and from the heart about our fine arts program. I'm not sure what else I can add to that. So, but other than to say, I love working at a place where within 6 months, you get to work with a leader that gets the fine arts so deeply and so meaningfully. The examples that he brought up are things I would hope he would notice, and he did, and he appreciates the fine arts and all that they do. So I'd like to take a little bit of a deeper dive into what we offer and kind of how our fine arts program is structured and the philosophy. First of all, I'll tell you that we are set up for two different kinds of students: the specialist and the generalist. We have a 1-year fine arts requirement. We have a lot of students who do that 1 year through our foundations courses, the foundations of digital art or foundations of studio art. And it's a fulfilling and deeply engaging year-long exposure to arts and arts appreciation. We are also set up for the 4-year artist. We are absolutely set up to be the place where the specialist comes to pursue their art deeply, if they want to continue that study of art at the college level or the professional level. We are absolutely set up for the generalist and the specialist. And I'll give you an example of some of the things that we offer. In our middle school, we have a middle school visual arts class that touches on studio arts, drawing and painting, as well as ceramics, digital arts and photo. It's a phenomenal course led by an amazing administrator named Louisa Neal. She's a fantastic middle school art teacher. And on the performing arts side, we have a theater arts class that produces 4 short in-class performances a year. And then we have 1 after-school play that goes along with that as well. And then in middle school, our 4 strands of music. There are 4 music ensembles: band, choir, orchestra, and percussion. They perform twice a year and at campus events, and they get a chance to do an adjudicated festival in the spring where they get to go to King's Dominion and be adjudicated by a series of judges, and then they get a little bit of a reward to spend some time at a theme park afterwards. So it's a fantastic middle school experience. But those 7 classes are really the foundation of everything that we do in the upper school, where your choices just explode. In the upper school, we've got sort of 2 sections of the fine arts: visual and performing. On the visual side, our studio arts classes, which include the drawing and painting and ceramics up through the AP level. And on the performing side, a theater program that produces 3 shows a year, 2 plays and a musical, a dance program with intermediate, advanced introductory classes, and our 4 strands of music: band, choir, percussion, and orchestra, as well as advanced study into music theory and AP music theory. those programs culminate into some really exciting things at the end of 4 years. On the visual side, we have a portfolio art class that is designed for students who are college bound. They literally spend a year getting their portfolio ready for colleges. We've seen Nikki Brignoli, who's here with us tonight, can tell you more about that. But I've seen 30, 35 college reps come into our school to see our kids. And I know there have been scholarship offers made on the spot, including presidential scholarships at some of the top art schools that are over $100,000 a year. So I call those scholarships a tuition rebate, but I'm not sure that's going to catch on. But it's true. I mean, we prep these kids for a fantastic opportunity at that level. And on the performing side, we place kids into some of the top BFA programs in the country. I just got through today coaching one of our seniors as she gets ready for her pre-screen auditions and her unified auditions. She'll audition for theater programs, 20 different schools, because that's what it takes to do a BFA program in a performing arts. And at a lot of schools, that's something that you need to do outside coaching for. We do all that in-house, and we've placed kids at some of the top programs in the country through that in-house system of campus experts that we have. But all of that is to say that really the philosophy of the fine arts program is that we build very important life skills. The performing arts and the visual arts are the places where empathy is really developed, because I believe empathy is a skill that you can develop through practice. To see the world through someone else's point of view, to express yourself with visual art, to process your emotions through art. These are very important skills that make our kids not only better students, but better citizens. They are daily engaged in creative problem solving, collaborative teamwork. We have a fantastic visual art show each year and several performances, which means our kids work with immovable deadlines. And the stress that comes with that is not stress that we try to have kids avoid. It's stress that we teach them how to handle. Because opening night can be kind of stressful, but we work toward how to handle the opening night with grace and dignity and to process that stress. But they're expressing themselves emotionally. They are processing the world around them in ways that I think you can only do in a fine arts classroom. So I'm proud of the fantastic educators that I get to work with, and I'm amazed by what our students can do. Before I turn it over to Vicki Knickerbocker, who's the head of our innovation program, I'll tell you that I'm available anytime you need me. You type in a question in the chat. I'll put my email address in the chat and a link to our fine arts Instagram page, so you can see visually what we've been doing recently. And I'm here if you have any questions. But now I'd like to turn it over to Vicki Knickerbocker, who runs an amazing innovation program. Vicki?
Thank you very much, James. It's great to be here this evening and to talk to everyone about the innovation program, and also to hear about what's happening in the fine arts program. I love that innovation and fine arts are paired together, because the types of classes that you're going to find in the innovation department are sometimes looked at as more dry. It's computer science, it's STEM, but really the approach here at Flint Hill is that imagine what is possible, and then asking those students to blaze the trail, because we want the creative problem solving part of these courses. So when they're in a programming class with Ms. Henry, who's here this evening, the expectation is that they're getting their hands onto these devices. They're using microprocessors. Of course, they're doing some code, but they're looking at it with a creative mindset. It's not just about, oh, we're going to learn how to code. It's about, how do I solve a problem using these tools that are in front of me? So in the middle school, we've designed kind of an a la carte type of extracurriculars. So they are able to select the things that they might be interested in. And here's where you'll find our Makers program. And Mr. Cook is here with this evening to talk about what happens in the Maker Lab, which is actually behind me and full of some really exciting tools where they can do not just projects that interest them, they do interest them, but also learn how they can use these skills to make someone else's life better. And I'm hoping that Mr. Cook will talk about that. But in the middle school, they can select the broadcasting class where they can be part of a news crew. They can sign up for robotics. They can be on a robotics team. They can go into the programming classes and they can kind of begin to explore what they're interested in, so that by the time they're going into the upper school, they know a little bit about where they might want to concentrate their efforts. And if they're not even sure yet, when they go into the upper school, there's still an opportunity for them to experiment, and then dive deep pretty quickly if they want to. So much so that when they get into the upper school, if they have decided that robotics is it, they love it, this is what they want to do with their lives, they can take that through Robotics 1 and Robotics 2 up into our Advanced Autonomous Aerial Robotics program, which is a nationally recognized team. And nationally meaning they're not just competing with high schools around the world, but they're competing with some of the top universities in the world and coming out on top. But actually, well, they're beating MIT and they're beating Stanford and just really representing well. And it's not so much about, are they going to go and win? It really is about the experience that they're going to get in a class like this, where they're working on a team. It's professional experience. They've got something for their portfolio so that they can move on into the better programs, the better schools, and the better opportunities beyond. So once they get into the upper school, we have robotics, of course. We also offer cybersecurity classes. We offer programming classes, both in introductory and on an AP level. And we actually started this year in advanced topics in computer science. Ms. Henry can answer questions about that, trying to give our students a more, I suppose, real life experience and what it's like to be on a software development team. And throughout the course of whether a student is signing up for the first time in an intro into computer science, or if they're in one of the advanced courses, it really is about giving them the best experience possible so that they can make decisions about where they want to go. And I have to say that one of the most gratifying things as an educator is watching a child discover who they are, or discover their people, so to say. And it's one of the best parts of the job here. So if you have questions more about innovation, I'll be happy to answer those. And we'll go on to, I guess, the questions and answers.
So thank you so much, Vicki and James, and everyone for being here tonight. This next bit, really, it's going to be driven by you all, our participants. We've got a really incredible panel of individuals who are joining us tonight. And I'm going to ask the teachers themselves to introduce themselves. I'll kind of call you out, and I know Chris, Joelle, Nikki, Derek. I would love, if possible, as I call you out, I'd love for you to be able to just give a brief introduction of who you are, your role here at Flint Hill, some of the benefits that you're experiencing within your respective programs, and if you can, just one thing, something your classes are doing this week. What are you excited about? Or maybe something that surprised you amongst your classes. And so I'm going to start, if I can, with Chris Cook, our middle school makers teacher. Chris, can I put you on the spot, bud?
You bet. So yeah, my name is Chris Cook. I teach 7th and 8th grade makers. It's an elective. It's a pass-fail class where kids have a lot of choice about what kinds of things they want to work on. It's a maker space with all the things you would expect: laser cutter, CNC router, power tools, 3D printers, sticker maker, anything like that. And to get to Patrick's thing, I guess I'd go with two things. One, I really want to mention the Magic Wheelchair project that we do in the fall, where we work with a nonprofit called magicwheelchair.org to make epic costumes for young people who are in wheelchairs and will be in wheelchairs for the rest of their life. And we've made 3 costumes so far. We've made Darth Vader's TIE Fighter, the Nationals bullpen cart, and we actually got to give the young man who was a Nats fan his costume at Nats Park. And this year we made a princess carriage for a young lady who loved Disney princesses. And it's a really powerful project for the kids and for their teacher. As they get to see that when we talked about empathy before, like to watch 13-year-old, 14-year-old kids give so much of themselves to make somebody else's life better is it's remarkable. Just yesterday, I had a young lady ask me if she wanted to make, if she could make it an acoustic guitar, which I've never done before. And she emailed me and said, well, my parents just ordered a kit for me. Can we do that? And it's like, well, that certainly surprised me, but it's like, for sure, we'll do that. And the last thing I want to talk about real quick is the bridging the arts and the and innovation. We the Makers kids this year spent a lot of time making the props for the upper school play Clue. And it's just a wonderful way for kids who might not necessarily feel like they're into the arts to get their foot in the door in arts and see the connection between the two, because the two things can be wonderfully linked together if we just look for those connections rather than going, oh, here's my class and here's your class. Instead, let's look for ways to make them work together. So that's me. I'm done.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for all you do for our students. Joelle, can you introduce yourself and share a little bit?
Sure. Hi, I'm Joelle. I'm the middle and upper school programming teacher and the robotics coach at the upper school. My background is in electrical engineering. I worked in industry for about 10 years before getting into education. And then I got my master's in STEM education and haven't looked back. I love it. I've worked in public school, charter school, and now this is my first independent school experience. And I have to say it is amazing. The administration, staff, everyone is just so supportive, not just of the teachers, but so focused on the students and doing the like Patrick said, innovation is kind of overused, but really doing the innovative thing, finding what's new and what's next, and not just staying still. So I teach the AP Computer Science courses, intro, advanced topics. The advanced topics, I really love. That's the students basically work as a firm, as an industry group. They have to research and pitch a project. And once they pitch their project, then they decide one of them. We do project management using Agile. They manage their project using tools that would be used in industry. They meet with a user, which this year is the Kurtaman coaches, the Latin teachers, to find their needs. They ask questions. They did a paper prototype and showed it to the teachers to get feedback. And now they're finishing up the first stage of getting a working product to the teachers. So they'll have their presentations in a couple of weeks to them. So they're learning all aspects of not just the technology part, but working together, managing time, working with a user, being creative on how to solve problems when they have, they run up against something, they have to research it and figure it out. The other thing I love about the program in general is that I saw someone write this in the chat too, is how do we keep up with new technologies? Well, because we love them. So that's what we spend our time doing. And I'm taking a boot camp this summer on artificial intelligence and eventually would like to have a class on that. I've taught in the past VR. We're looking at that. We're looking at machine learning. So just really trying to stay up. And I the other innovation teachers do as well. Just staying up with the latest technologies. And it makes it so much more exciting for me, for the teachers, which then the students are so excited. They see that in that their excitement helps me and my excitement helps them. So yeah, it's a fantastic program, and it's great that I think we have classes at just like in fine arts at the foundational level for kids who aren't sure, they want to try it out. I got the best Christmas card from a student this year, a young woman who said, basically her parents made her take the class and she didn't want to, and now it's her favorite class. She loves it and she can't wait to take the next one. So that's the kind of thing we're trying to just expose kids and let them see it. And if this is their passion, then, give them whatever they need to succeed in that.
It's really great. Thanks so much, Joelle. And I noticed you did a great job calling it up. Please, folks, as we're going through these introductions, we've got some great faculty members that are joining us. We also have some students that'll be able to share their perspectives, as well as some current Flint Hill families. Populate that chat box with any questions that you have, and we're not ignoring them. As we get through some of these introductions, we'll also address them and then kind of open it up to that wider spot. So please, if you have something on your mind, pop it in there. I promise we will get to all of them here tonight. Let me jump on over to Nikki Brignoli. Can you please share a little bit about what you all are doing in Upper School of Visual Arts?
Yes, thank you, Patrick, so much. And welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here. Thank you, James and Patrick, for really amazing introductions to the studio art program. It's humbling as always. And to our admissions team, thanks for asking me back again this year. I really love being able to show off what we do and how we do it. So as Patrick mentioned, my name is Nikki Brignoli. I teach studio art in the upper school. This is my 5th year at Flint Hill. And before I came to Flint Hill, I spent over 10 years teaching at the university level. In addition to teaching at that level for many years and working with not just undergrads, but working very closely with graduate students on their journey. I am and a mom of a 6th grade husky. I'm also a practicing artist, and I try to be really, really active as an artist doing what I'm doing. I feel that that makes me much more relevant as a teacher, and I think it helps me connect more closely with what my students are doing, in part because I have to stay up to date with what's going on in the art world. Even if it's a smaller art world in DC, there's still quite a lot going on. So I'm really grateful to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunities that we have. I think Flint Hill is very unique in an enormous amount, like our resources are bar none. Patrick came up actually to the portfolio studio before winter break, and we had music on, and in portfolio, I like to highlight it because it's for seniors who are very serious about art school, or students who took Art 1, didn't realize they were going to love it, fell in love with the challenge of the class, and didn't want to graduate without moving the whole way through the program. So this year I have my largest class. I have 10 students, but the goal of the class, in addition to them having their studios to make their art, is a place that is theirs. There's music going, it's comfortable, students are having a great time. And Patrick came in and he was like, I just realized this might be the best kept secret in the school. And it's just a really unique space. And I love when admissions brings families through. But to go back to what I do, in addition, I teach Art 1, Art 2, Art 3 honors, and portfolio art. Art 1 and Art 2, I like to use as a metaphor of a house. In particular, Art 1, when we think about building a house, if any of you are into building, the strongest part of a house has to be a foundation. And so Art 1 is very deeply rooted in providing a very strong skill building approach to the elements and principles of design. I really believe that we have to learn the rules before we break the rules. So Art 1 is really dedicated to learning methods and materials. So I provide a lot of different materials for the students to try out. The emphasis in Art 2 is about process and learning and trying new things. More process than outcome, because I'm asking students to lean in and dip their toes into things maybe they've never worked with. And I really like to create challenging and exciting projects for them. Art 3 and portfolio art are really the courses that are most self-directed. I think part of the success of our students is having that opportunity to do self-directed learning and investigating. Those 2 courses are really rooted in research, students finding and making connections with art history and contemporary art, and just really finding their place in the world. And then if I could talk briefly about a couple of projects that I'm interested in, I'll just point to Art 2. This unit, currently we're working on printmaking, and we're doing a block print project, and it's all hand carving. And the students were asked to do a portrait of a hero, and they could really define hero in any way they wanted to. It could be a family member, it could be somebody they've never met, it could be, you name it, they could pick whomever they wanted to do a portrait of. But in addition to that portrait, I introduced them to Japanese artist Yayoi Kusama, who, if any of you are interested or any of you are familiar with Kusama's Infinity Rooms, which you could see at the Hirshhorn with the timed pass right now, you can go in and experience that space. So the students, in addition to creating a portrait, they have to create a portrait that's embedded with pattern. So they're learning a little bit about this artist who's so important and influential in our contemporary culture, but they're also being able to elevate a portrait of somebody that really means a lot to them. And then portfolio, everybody's doing something amazing in there. So picking one student is really, really difficult and challenging, but I want to point out to pursue physical therapy. And I've been working with his student since he was a freshman. And he is currently working with his whole theme for this year. So in Art 3 and Portfolio, every student gets to choose a theme. His theme is about, we like to think about, or not necessarily think about, climate change as a, excuse me one second, my child is on a phone call in the other room and he's rather loud. FaceTiming. Anyhow, so he wanted to make a statement about not necessarily that we need to be taking care of nature, but that nature is going to take care of itself, and we need to take care of us. And by taking care of us, then we give back to the environment. So he has been finding all of these images and turning them into screen prints of things that have been abandoned and have been overcome by nature. And all year he's been working on a series of photographic silk screens. And this quarter he devoted he wanted to do sculpture. So he actually took this image of a boat that had been overgrown, and he's constructed the same boat out of foam core, and he's turned it into a planter. So he's got succulents growing in this planter inspired by this boat, and he's figured out the filtration watering system by hanging an IV bag after much problem solving about how to keep that foam core container from leaking. So I like to think about art and making and makers and innovation. Like, the line is very blurry. We're all makers, and we're all thinking critically about how we're doing what we're doing. And we have to work together, and we have to collaborate. And the most innovative artists are, they're working with the experts in the fields, and the experts are looking to artists to think creatively and outside of the box. And that's the kind of environment that I like to harness and build and nourish within my students, from Art 1 to portfolio art and beyond. So thank you for the opportunity to share.
Thanks so much, Nikki. Next, Dr. Derek Scott with our performing arts music.
Good evening. Good evening, everyone. I'm Derek. This is my 11th year at Flint Hill. Like Nikki, I'm an active musician in the DC metro area. And I think that's one of the hallmarks of our fine arts department, is that almost all of us are working professionals in addition to being teachers. So I know there was a question that was asked a little bit earlier about how do we keep up to date on like current trends and all that kind of stuff. That is definitely how we're doing it. We're out in the field almost weekly doing concerts or performing or doing workshops or clinics. I'm actually going to speak for all 4 of our performing art wing music ensembles. We have, in the middle school, we have 4 ensembles. We have a choir, we have percussion ensemble, we have band, and we have orchestra. And most of these are, you'll get a similar experience as to what you'd expect in the public school, where you're working on fun and engaging music, building nonverbal communication skills, ensemble skills, empathy and compassion towards each other, and responsibility. And it's a 7th and 8th grade combined course. So 8th graders get the opportunity to be leaders, while 7th graders get the opportunity to kind of reach up and aspire to what the 8th graders are doing. Our students in all of our ensembles are eligible to audition for the Virginia Band and Orchestra Director Association's middle school district band. And all 4 of these ensembles can directly transfer up to the upper school. So the cool thing about our music program in particular is that all 4 of us teach from 5th grade through high school. So we are able to kind of create our own pipeline, and we're also able to guide students through the second half of their tenure at Flint Hill School. The upper school, we have a few more choices in terms of performing ensembles. We have the band breaks into 2 parts, where you have symphonic band, which does a lot more of what you would expect from a concert band. That's more traditional music. We play a lot of different things, ranging from movie music to your traditional band works. And we also have a jazz ensemble that focuses on developing the skills of jazz, including improvising and playing in numerous different styles. There's 2 choirs. There's a concert choir and a symphonic choir. And that one is, I'm not sure if there's as much of a difference between the 2, but one, there's just 2 sections to accommodate the interest in the choirs. We have an orchestra that performs your typical string orchestra repertoire, but also they do a lot of fun stuff, including like Led Zeppelin and a bunch of different kind of fun things like that. And we have a full-fledged percussion ensemble, which is kind of a unique aspect of our performing arts department, as not many schools in the country have a fully dedicated percussion ensemble from grade 5 all the way up through high school. At the moment, we're kind of in reset mode, getting ready. We're laying the groundwork for our big concert at George Mason University called Arts Jam. And during this concert, it's a variety show in which every ensemble performs. We do collaborative numbers, so you can have the orchestra playing with the percussion ensemble. Band will play with choir, band will play with percussion ensemble, and we just kind of intermingle and kind of get to the core of what's so awesome about being in a musical group, which is playing awesome music with your friends. And so that's been the big thing. And in the bands in particular, we've been listening to a lot of music, trying to figure out what the kids want to play. I'm a very big advocate of 1 for me, 2 for them. So the students get a say in what they perform. And so we've been kind of going through music and getting kids to about what they play and to learn how to set these goals that make it so that they make healthy repertoire choices that specifically target success, as opposed to kind of just doing stuff that is just for the purposes of being fun. So the kids will pick music that'll help them grow and attain more skills. But it's a great place to be, both from the innovation department side and from the fine arts side. It is a wonderful way for students to spend time at Flint Hill. And I really hope you guys are enjoying what you're hearing.
Thanks so much, Derek. Appreciate you, Nikki, all of our faculty that are joining us here tonight. We also have a handful of students. We have 2 upper school students and 2 middle school students that I'd like to put on the spot if I can. And I'm going to ask you to introduce yourselves, as well as share something for you that you've really enjoyed from a fine arts or innovation standpoint. I'm going to start with Miss Scarlett. Mariah, who was outstanding in our play Clue, among many other performances. Mariah, why don't you share a little bit about your experience with innovation in the fine arts?
So hi, I'm Mariah and I'm a senior. I have been in like almost every different type of like class in terms of fine arts. I've tried the film class, I've tried digital art, I've tried foundations in art, I've tried studio art, and now I'm in Art 3. And I'll be taking an actor's workshop class in digital imaging. I love all of the art programs and all of the art classes there are at Flint Hill. I've been able to learn about so many different things that I didn't really expect myself to enjoy until I tried them out, like my Foundations in Digital Arts class my freshman year. Um, and I was able to have the chance, especially this year when I'm in Art 3, to discover what I really want to make and like have the full opportunity to create it however I'd like to. And in terms of the theater program, I absolutely love it. And what's really unique about it is I feel like it's a very collaborative space where we're encouraged to say, I actually think, well, maybe we should change this or something like that. We can say things that we think should change, and there's a possibility that we can change them because it's a collaborative space, and I really love that.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Mariah. Matthew, I know I saw your name on the list. Would you turn on your camera, introduce yourself to everybody, and share a little bit of what you've experienced here with Innovation?
Hi, I'm Matthew Trimble. I'm a senior. I've been at Flint Hill since I was a freshman, and I'm really involved in the innovation department, working with Mr. Snyder and now Miss Henry. I'm in her computer science principles AP class. I'm in advanced aerial robotics honors, and I've been in robotics since I've been a freshman in Flint Hill. I'm also an active member in the cybersecurity club as well. So I'm pretty much covering all of the innovation that involves science and technology. I'm very interested in robotics, and I do plan to do computer engineering in college. Flint Hill definitely helped me realize that's the route I wanted to go in college, just because they've showed me what I can do with my interest in these things. And I especially like the advanced aerial robotics class that's available to juniors and seniors who have participated in robotics since they were freshmen. And I really like that program because I get to talk to the seniors that worked on the team before. I think it's probably the only class at Flint Hill where you actively talk to the seniors that graduated so they can pass their knowledge down to you. It's not so much a teacher-driven course where they lecture you and you learn about the different parts or components and they tell you what to do. We participate in national competition, so it's really the students trying to figure out how they want to get objectives done. And we have to switch it every year. New minds think of new ways to solve new tasks that the competition gives us. And it's really helped me just see how I can use my mind in a way to invent new things.
One of my favorite things as a new person coming to Flint Hill was one day as I was walking through classes, walking in on Matthew and a bunch of the cybersecurity kids all midday in a hours-long cybersecurity competition. And just walking in this room of probably 12 to 16 kids. And I just said, hey, what are you all doing? And hearing the way I'm an educator for a reason. I am not in cybersecurity. Hearing them break down what are these processes by which these kids are doing, it's like no wonder we thankfully are in really good hands, because the processes, the work, the competition, the camaraderie, it was really, really neat seeing you all in there on one of those competition days, Matthew. And for those of us that are old or just feeling old, man, there's an incredible world right at these kids' fingertips. And I'm so grateful for folks like Mike and all of our other teachers who are helping them stay on the cutting edge of this, where it's not just QWERTY typing keys anymore, but we're really doing some pretty incredible stuff. So that was one of my favorites. So wanted to put you on the spot for that one, when Matthew. It was a lot of fun. Grace, one of our middle school students, is going to share a little bit about some of her experiences with innovation.
Hi, I'm Grace, and I'm in 8th grade in the middle school, and this is actually my first year at Flint Hill. And I take both fine arts and innovation classes. So I take the visual arts and then makers with Mr. Cook. And when I toured the school, when I was considering coming to Flint Hill, makers really stood out to me, and the whole like makers room, because of like the wide variety of things that we're able to create and the freedom we have to create what we want to. And so it was one of the main reasons I decided to come to Flint Hill, and it's just as good, if not better, as I was expecting it to be, and it's actually my favorite class.
That's awesome. Thanks so much, Grace. And I know your dad is joining you here because he's going to be joining from our parent perspectives. Stephen, I'm going to put you on the spot in a second. But first, Alec, why don't you share a little bit of your perspectives? Alec Sweet.
Greetings and salutations. I'm Alex Sweet. This is my third year at Flint Hill, and I take theater arts, and I really, really enjoy the course. I think my favorite part is how we get to do all different types of theater. So every different quarter, we do a different play. So for example, my class last quarter did a radio drama, which you don't often hear about, but it was really fun to perform. And we really got to focus on the more vocal aspects of theater. And this quarter, we're putting on Shakespeare. And I really enjoy how we also get to not only say the lines, but our teacher is working with us individually to help us understand what the lines mean. And so it really helps us gain a deeper understanding of the material. And next quarter, we're going to be doing a contemporary theater, a contemporary play. And so it's really amazing to be able to do all these different types of theater. And it's also, the community is so very supportive, because the whole point of theater is to try all these different things, and one of them is going to work, and it's all about finding that one that works. So the entire community is so supportive and helping find that one piece that works for your character.
That's great. Thanks so much, Alec. I'm going to just opine slightly on this. I was an English teacher. I worked hard for years trying to help kids understand Shakespeare. In 5 minutes, watching that middle school theater arts class performing Shakespeare, where you realize these kids had not just learned the lines, but actually understood it, and therefore in their performance were touching upon the iambic pentameter, the rhythm, the meaning behind it, so that it wasn't just relayed. I watched a 10-15 minute performance. I think it was of the dinner table scene from Hamlet, and it absolutely blew me away, because it had all the performative elements that you would want to have of any great play, but you could tell that the students, and I've never seen 13, 14-year-old kids wrestle with and understand Shakespeare at this level. It was really, really unbelievable. So seeing Alec and some of the other kids in our middle school doing that in ways that I couldn't get out of my high school kids in years past was really exciting too. So thank you, students, for joining us. We also, in addition to our students, have a number of parents that are going to be able to share their own experiences with you all as well. So keep the questions coming in here through the chat. And then after all of our introductions, we're just going to open it up to questions, either through the chat or raise a hand or unmute yourselves, whatever's going to be easiest. But then you'll have faculty, students, parents to be able to share their experiences here with you, or answer any questions you might have too. So I'm going to push this over to our parents here for a second. Anne, one of our upper school parents. Anne, would you mind introducing yourself and speaking a little bit to your kids' experience?
Sure. My name's Anne Lyons. My daughter Abby is a senior and a passionate actor and singer. I think the biggest thing I would say is that while as her parent, I probably knew she was a performer all her life, it wasn't until she got to Flint Hill that it started to shine. She was the lead in the fall play last year, and when the show was over, she simply said to me, I don't ever want to not be doing this. And what I did with that was like, well, okay. And I immediately talked to her theater teacher, who I said, what do I do when that is what my child says to me? Because I know the life of an actor is not easy, but we got such tremendous guidance, and the support that she got led us to a summer program, which led us to the insane BFA acting college application process we are in right now. But our hands are being held so carefully and kindly by the faculty that I feel really grateful to be in this environment. Abby is also in major minors. I saw some people asking questions about that, which her schedule didn't really allow for her to be in any of the choir groups. So major minors, which is extracurricular, has been a great, and the open mics, which Patrick mentioned earlier, they're her opportunity to get out there. And I don't know if there are a lot of theater parents out there, but I tend to burst into tears when I see children start to perform. So to see that in that nurturing environment. The open mic thing, I'm sure some of you on your tours may have had a chance to see that. The support of the community is just tremendous. Also, I just wanted to reference, they talked about the double casting of Clue this fall. And when they first did that, a number of us were sort of like, oh man. I mean, even, and Mariah, I know you could probably comment on this. There was a little bit of like, we can take disappointment, it's okay. But then as they went through the process, and I even had some conversations with James about it, because again, everyone's so accessible to us as parents, which is one of the things I love about Flint Hill. We realized that to give the opportunity and embrace the challenge of it. It was an insane challenge having 2 casts doing a single play. But it was that kind of creative troubleshooting and decision-making that was just really cool. And I saw almost every performance of both casts, and it's remarkable. All these kids got the chance to really challenge themselves and participate. And it was not just hey, everybody gets to play in the game. It was like everybody gets a chance to work hard and be an actor. And it was really very cool. And, I can't say enough about it. I'm not sure in another environment that my daughter would have blossomed quite as she has at Flint Hill.
Thanks so much, Anne. And what I loved, just to piggyback on that, was the final show for one cast, seeing the other cast jump up in the seats in the stands, cheering for them at the curtain call was really exciting. It was, just a special experience, and credit to the kids for all that hard work. Sharon, I know you are with us as an upper school parent. If you can speak a little bit about your family's experience.
Hi, yes. I'm Sharon Edelman. My daughter Claire is a sophomore. And she kind of goes along the mold of what Joelle was talking about earlier with she started her freshman year at Flint Hill, and I just knew that she would enjoy computer programming, but she had never done anything like that before. And she was opposed to it and said, well, I don't know how to do that. And everybody in the class is already going to know how to do it. And I kind of pushed her and said, just try it for a semester. They offered a semester class, and she got in there with Vicki Knickerbocker, and she totally loved it. She was so encouraged the whole, every step of the way, and did well. And Miss Nick was so encouraging and sort of supportive, great curriculum. And, it ended up being her favorite class. And then she wanted to do more this year. So now she's taking AP computer science principles again with Miss Knickerbocker. Again, it's her favorite class. And I'm just so grateful for, the curriculum, the support of Miss Nick. And, I think that the department, and, she'll continue on that path. And I'm really grateful for that. Claire also had a great experience with the fine arts department, where she approached Sarah Pramstaller, who was doing a Christmas or a holiday winter choir concert, and Claire plays the piano, and she asked her, could I accompany the choir for the concert? And Sarah didn't know my daughter at all and didn't know whether she could even play the piano, but she provided her with some music for a few pieces, and Claire ended up participating. And she just was so, open to that involvement. She had a professional piano player ready to do the accompanying, but she was really, really happy to have a student to be able to participate, and was just wonderful with Claire every step of the way. So I was really grateful for that. The faculty at Flint Hill are just unbelievable. So impressed.
We're really lucky. Thank you so much. Paula, one of our middle school parents, is going to share a little bit about her family's experience. Paula.
Hi, everybody. My name is Paula Curl, and my daughter Jane is in 8th grade this year. She started the school last year in 7th grade. And both years she has been in the band. She plays the clarinet, and she has taken theater arts, both of which she's really loved. And she's also on the dance team, which I think, like Sharon was just saying, Jane had never danced before in her life, but was so intrigued by it and really wanted to try it, and has been really nurtured. I know it's a sport and not a fine art, but I feel like, dance is a fine art as well. and has been really nurtured in that area, as well as in theater arts and in band.
That's great. Thank you so much. Stephen, come on in.
Hi, thank you for having us tonight. My name is Steve Riamaki, and I am Grace's father. And I'm also a parent of a 10th grader in the upper school, Dylan. So we've had the opportunity to have students in several different classes within the different arts programs. Dylan has been in the band ever since he started going to Flint Hill in 7th grade, and is currently in the jazz band that Dr. Scott talked about. And he's really excited about getting the opportunity, nervous a little bit as well, getting the opportunity to improvise during the performances. And what's been wonderful when we've attended those is seeing that every student, no matter what instrument they're playing, gets the opportunity to improvise, which is really a wonderful opportunity for them. And so that's been great. Dylan has also had the opportunity to participate in the Clue play this year as well for the first time. And the thing that really stood out to me there was that he was balancing that with also playing on the soccer team. And I know that causes a lot of challenges. But what struck me is that the first instinct of our teachers at Flint Hill is to say yes. They always want to try and figure out a way to make things happen. And they were able to do that this year for Dylan, to balance both soccer and the Clue performance. And being part of the rehearsals and the training and the presentation and the performance really boosted Dylan's confidence, and he really enjoyed that. And it wasn't just because the teachers and the faculty were so great, but the students were very supportive as well. And that's another thing that has really struck me, is how the students really support each other in some of these endeavors. So that has been an awesome thing as well. When Dylan started in 7th grade, unfortunately, that was when the pandemic hit. But then in 8th grade, he was in Makers, and he had the opportunity to work on a lot of different things. And a couple things I like about Makers is that it's really the students that get to choose what they're working on. And that can vary from small one-day projects to semester-long projects. And Dylan had the opportunity to build this guitar with Mr. Cook in 8th grade. And it took all semester, and they really worked on it together. And it was one of the best achievements and things that Dylan was most proud of so far. And so I have to say, Mr. Cook didn't say this before, but Grace is the student that wants to build the acoustic guitar this year. And I have to tell him that he kind of brought that on himself, because he did such a good job helping Dylan with his guitar. So thank you for that. And we have just loved all the opportunities and the breadth of opportunities that Dylan and Grace have had at Flint Hill to kind of develop and enhance their artistic side. So thank you very much.
Steve, you guys are building the whole band right at home. It's perfect.
Right.
It's a good plan. I like it.
The guitar, everything. Yeah.
Well, folks, that is everybody's introduction, and I know we've been going through a lot within all of our conversation here. Just a quick reminder, because as I'm seeing the chat coming through, tonight's presentation, while focused on the arts and the innovation, we can certainly talk about a lot of things. But we are speaking tonight through this lens of arts and innovation, which is why we have our arts and innovation teachers here and have been speaking about it this much. But as I think somebody mentioned in the chat, we have it all. Like any great independent school, our goal is to have a really well-rounded education and opportunities in academics, arts, athletics, you name it. But that's kind of where we're at, and it's also where we've got these really incredible educators and students here to share their experiences through that lens. So just a little bit of a framework there, but certainly if there are questions outside of that, or even logistical nuts and bolts, that's part of the reason why we have our admissions team on the line, myself and others here too. So I see a few different questions coming through the chat, but also if you have a question and you want to go ahead and make yourself audible, I saw Chris, you had raised your hand, so I'm going to go ahead kick it over to you if you want to add something here. And others, please use the chat text or raise your hand, and we'll be able to work from there. So, Chris.
So I just want to thanks to Steve for all the nice words. I mean, your kids are amazing. But I want to talk a little bit as a parent. In addition to being the Makers teacher, I'm the parent of a senior. She's been here since JK. So if you're just looking to school now, you don't get that awesome feeling of having a lifer. But I say that I think, and I've heard this from a number of different people, Flint Hill to me is the perfect size of a school for your child to attend if they're interested in exploring, because they don't have to be an absolute expert at something to be a part of something. And they can find out that they're really talented. They don't have to walk in that first day of auditions and be amazing. They have to walk into that first day of auditions or that first day of practice for softball or that first day of whatever it is they choose. They have to care, not be an expert. And the coaches and the teachers will take that care and take that desire and help them develop the skills that they need to be an expert. My daughter is in theater. She's in major minors. She plays softball. She's the same balance that Dylan had with the musical last spring. And what Flint Hill has done for her is it's said to her, take your passions and take your desire to be excellent, and we're going to help you get as far as you possibly can. And she happens to be talented, and that's wonderful. But that's Flint Hill has given her the opportunity to express those talents in a way that I think a giant school couldn't, and in the way that a tiny school couldn't. And so I think it's an excellent size school, and it's if your child is passionate and interested, we'll find a way to help them be amazing. So that's what I want to say.
It's really helpful. Appreciate that, Chris. And just to piggyback that, only because I saw one of the questions somewhat relative to our size in the chat, our students teacher ratio, we're roughly around 7 or 8 to 1. But quite honestly, especially in these fine arts or innovation spaces, our max class size is about 18. But when you get to some of those higher level classes, we're talking about 4, 5, 6 kids sometimes. I'm thinking about Nikki in your portfolio class, or some of our higher level ensembles, or some of the more selected, select meaning self-selecting from the students who have worked through some of these processes into some of those higher level computer science courses or things like that too. So as a school wide, we try to cap our class size, individual classroom, at about 18 students. But in these spaces specifically, that might vary a little bit more because of the ensemble nature of a performance, or the really highly selective niche view that you might have within our higher level elective courses that our students have there too. Second thing there that came through is absolutely, yes, we do have students with learning differences. We work with our learning center. We support them really, really well as another hallmark part of our Flint Hill program. We can certainly talk about that more on an individual case-by-case basis. So, but that is not by any means a barrier to entry here for us. In fact, the ways in which we support all of our students in their own learning styles, regardless of diagnosed learning differences or anything like that, that's part of what makes us special. And so being able to meet our kids where they're at and help them grow to be the best versions of themselves is one of our major goals here too. So Nikki, you raised your hand, and then I'm going to go over to Maria, if that's okay. Or Mariah, I'm sorry. Nikki, I think you're on mute.
Sorry, I thought I got it. Thanks again. And Chris, I'm just going to follow up on you as a parent, because my son came here in 3rd grade and had the opportunity to choose his music for 5th grade. And percussion was at the top of his list. And he is now in 6th grade, and we have a 6-piece acoustic drum set in the house, and a kid who is researching crash cymbals and collecting vinyl and needing to have like, you know, AC/DC beats going in the house so he can work with his rhythm. And that is like all to his amazing teacher, Miss M, who is like a total rock star and super fun to watch perform. And what I really love about how she approaches, you know, and this is a specific lens because I haven't gotten to see my other extraordinary colleagues and their approaches to teaching, but in the unique lens of having my son is that she listens. Like, first of all, they're sixth grade boys for the most part. I think there might be a couple girls in that group, but she can like grab all of those kids in one space and they collaborate on what they want to do. It's like it is so cool to watch. For example, at their holiday concert, we had AC/DC, which was so much fun, and two kids, my son and his best friend at drum sets, just kind of ripping it on the drum set, and I had no idea it was happening because they practiced in secret. And too. So I think there's just so many unique opportunities for learning and figuring out what the strengths are and really nourishing those strengths. And I love the people that I work with so much, and it's the colleagues and it's the students that keep me coming back, because like Mariah, I've known Mariah since she was a freshman or ninth grade. And I've just seen her blossom and grow in the most extraordinary ways. And she did a pre-college program this summer at the Art Institute of Chicago. And the first thing I got when she got back was like, thank you so much, because you helped me realize what I want to do. And it isn't what I thought I wanted to do, but it's just an expansion of what's possible for me. And when I sat across her mom at parent-teacher conferences this year, it was one of my most favorite moments as a teacher, because she just looked across the room and just said, thank you for helping her find her voice and encouraging her and caring about her. And I mean, that's everything. I don't know that I can get a higher compliment. So just to kind of wrap up that experience as both a parent and being able to, I think a unique opportunity that those of us who teach arts and innovation have is we get to work with kids sometimes for 4 years. So it's not a semester experience. It's 4 years of being able to see somebody grow and develop and change and become the person who we're launching them and preparing them to become. And that's extraordinary and something I wouldn't trade for anything.
That's really, really great. Thanks so much, Nikki. Mariah, you had your hand raised, and questions keep on coming through the chat box too.
Yeah, so I just noticed that someone was asking about creative writing as like a fine art, and I wanted to touch on that because I'm taking that this year. It's been a really incredible experience for me because I've always been like really passionate about creative writing. I'm working on 2 novels right now, so it was something that I've always loved, but I never really had like enough time because I would always be busy with like extracurriculars and things like that. But with the creative writing class, we're not only able to learn about all the different types of creative writing, but we're able to work on our own projects that we might not be able to have time for outside of school. And it's like an entire hour in class time where you can really just go into your own work. We've learned about poetry, writing with iambic pentameter. Sorry if I said that wrong. That was
you got it. You're close enough.
Unit. And we just wrote, as Mr. Van House said in the chat, we all wrote 10-minute plays, and I'm actually directing 2 of those and acting in 1. So that was a really cool way to see like 2 different art forms coming together. So yeah, it's a really incredible class.
Thanks so much for sharing. Appreciate that. Other questions? One of the questions I had, we've spoken in so many ways about the different experiences, visual arts, theater. I'll admit, coming in new here to Flint Hill, I was really blown away by some of the more technological pieces that I've seen our kids doing, particularly around that area of the robotics, the aerial drone, and the cybersecurity work. Matthew, can I put you on the spot here if you don't mind? What got you into those spaces here at Flint Hill in the first place? What did you expect? And maybe what has surprised you during your time coming up through these programs?
So freshman year, I wanted to try something in the innovation department because in middle school, I started to get interested in like, video games and that type of stuff. So it was all around computers and that type of stuff. So going into my freshman year, I think it was actually 8th grade on my revisit day. I went back to talk to Mr. Snyder in the robotics room, and he kind of sold me on signing up for robotics for the next school year. So I took a risk on it, and I did, and I found a lot of friends in there. I really enjoyed it. I like how he structured the program. And even though we went online that first year, because my freshman year was the COVID year, or the year the COVID started, even that transition to online school, I had a great time doing the robotics, even though I couldn't be as hands-on. And so I also got to talk to some of the seniors that were in the advanced air robotics program at the time. And I knew that's something I wanted to try to get into because they had a great time doing it. And, as a freshman, seeing people build like actual flying drones in high school was kind of ridiculous, kind of absurd to think about. Like, because that's what real professionals do. They're doing government contracting in the course. So I didn't think that a high school could really participate in that. But now being in the program, I see the legacy that Mr. Snyder has helped build, and the alumni of the past like to come back and help to make sure we're on track to compete again at a high level every year. And I just love being a part of that.
Thanks so much for sharing that. And Alec, I was going to put you on the spot if you don't mind as well. And for full disclosure, I put Alec on the spot earlier this year as he was one of our speakers, our student speakers at our all school kickoff event with all of our students across all of our age levels, faculty and staff. And he did a great job, and I loved it. And one of the things that I loved about him was seeing his public speaking skills and the way in which his classmates, particularly those in the middle school, were cheering him on when he was done with his speech. Alec, did you always see yourself as feeling comfortable and performing in front of others, or perhaps what have you learned about yourself in that experience through our middle school experiences?
I have learned a lot. So last year, well, I did theater my first year here during 6th grade, and that was virtual because it was the COVID year. And so it was not as easy to do theater because a large part of theater is the live communication between actors. And so I think that really, I had a ton of fun in that though. It was really fun to interact with all the different people and try new characters. So I signed up for theater in 7th grade, and I performed in the middle school play that year. And that was my first really big performance that I'd done in my life. And it was really fun because everyone was going through the same thing. We were all really excited and we really worked together. And at the end, you could just feel everyone was so relieved and so happy for each other. It was actually a really amazing moment. And so I think that really helped improve my confidence because I'm getting to know these people much better. And theater helps me empathize with other people, as was stated earlier. And it's really helped me understand more about the world. And it allows me to kind of think in a different direction than I normally would by using that empathy. And it really helped with my empathy and with my confidence. And now I'm going again in this year's middle school play, and I'm so excited.
And what's the play, Alec?
The play is The Adventures of Robin Hood, but it's a comedy this time. And so we are working very hard, and we hope it'll be great.
I'm sure it will. That's really great. Grace, I want to put you on the spot if I can. I think you had shared coming in as a newer student here at Flint Hill. What did you expect when it came to these fine arts or innovation experiences? And what advice would you give, if any, for a family that is considering coming in and joining this, or a kid who maybe is a little bit nervous about coming in? It's middle school. Sometimes that can be a challenging time. Like, what advice would you give to a prospective new student joining you all?
Okay, so first off, coming into the middle school at Flint Hill, it was a lot different than I expected, but in a great way. There was much more like variety of choices of things that you can do and create in the fine arts and innovation department, which was great because there's like a almost a perfect fit for everybody, and everyone can find something that they really excel in and enjoy. And some advice I would give is like take a tour of the school, kind of look at what people have created in the past, and you can kind of learn about like think about the things that you like and what you want to create. And I mean, I would say go for it because there's something for everybody there. And I haven't met one person who doesn't like it. So
I like that idea of go for it. And I think when we think about those core values and what we hope for as educators out of our students, um, and I think I've heard a couple of other people talk about the teacher support that we have here, and that innovative mindset of just that idea of like, hey, you can sit on the sidelines or you can kind of step in. And this is a school that in only healthy and developmentally appropriate and supportive ways encourages our kids to step in. Not that it plays solely to an extrovert ideal. In fact, many of our kids and educators are highly introverted, but it's not a place for us to sit on the sidelines. You're active participants in your learning at Flint Hill, in the creation, in the feedback, as Mariah was saying about, hey, could we try this in the play or do this a little bit differently, and not have teachers that are just going to say, no, it's my way or the highway. So that partnership and that collaboration, particularly in some of these creative and innovative fields that we've been discussing tonight, I think is a really exciting part that is not something that I've seen at a lot of other schools during my career in education. It's something that continues to fuel us to greater heights as well. I'm noticing that the chat bar is getting a little bit quieter, but as you have questions, please pop them in here, and we'll go a little bit more rapid fire here before we wrap up in the next few minutes. I see one of the questions here is there time in the middle school schedule to do choir, strings, theater, fine arts, and innovation? It seems like it'll be hard to choose. And yeah, the long and the short of it is, especially at that middle school level, we try to build out that broader exposure, including actually down in our lower school, in some of our fine arts and innovation areas. But we, as a school, really developmentally try to play to that idea that you can't always become a specialist until you start out with that general exposure, which is really exciting. And so we try to work within the kids' schedules, within their electives and the daily class schedules, to give you that opportunity where you're not often pushed into that position of making those difficult choices of, I really want to do X, but I have to take Y. And sometimes, quite honestly, as it comes later on down the line as the kids are starting to think about college classes in the upper school, when we think about, hey, are you going to be applying into these fine arts programs? Then here's how we really want to thoughtfully think about your schedule, your junior, your senior year, and making sure that you have all the pieces that you need in there. We do have some kids that are making some of those tough choices, but we really work ourselves around in every possible way to give our kids that opportunity to take the classes that they really want to do, because quite honestly, teaching classes to kids that want to be in there is a whole lot better than teaching classes to kids that don't. And so finding that flexibility within our scheduling is really important for us too. But at that middle school level, getting that exposure and continuing to foster those capabilities is a goal. And then as we get up to the upper school, really diving deeply if you want to, or continually doing really great things across a wide variety of academic disciplines or innovative disciplines is really exciting as well. So we keep that really smartly. Are there other questions for also our parents that we have on this panel that have been so gracious to give their time of us tonight? Parents, I'll put you on the spot here really quickly. Just if you had one piece of advice for a parent of a middle school or upper school student, and can I put you on the spot with that? If you were coming in new to Flint Hill today, what would you hope that you knew?
For the parents, engage, ask a lot of questions, jump in, reach out to every resource, every person who says, please ask a question. Particularly with Flint Hill, you're going to get an answer. You're going to get a personal response. I've been through this process of applying to schools a couple of times in my life. And the difference is always the people. I mean, it's really hard making these decisions and you're looking at the big picture. Is your child going to be nurtured and comfortable and happy? And that really comes down to the people and, you know, whatever area you're interested in. And for me at Flint Hill, that has been the magic, is the faculty and staff and their love and support, not just for my kids, but for me as well when I needed it. And that's what you should be listening for when you're going through this process. To me, at the end of the day, class size, they're all small. They all have many of the same programs, but if you can find quality people who, by the way, love their jobs, you're on the right track. That's the advice I have.
That works really, really nicely. Sharon, anything to add on that advice for a future upper school parent?
Oh, that was really well said, Anne. And, you know, I agree, just as you're trying to make this decision, you know, ask every question. And, you know, I can just say my husband and I are so impressed with Flint Hill, our second year here with our daughter. No regrets whatsoever. We're so pleased with every aspect of the school, honestly. And, you know, I guess the advice I would give is just to ask those questions and get to the place where you feel great about it.
That's great. Yeah, absolutely. Paula, how about families considering the middle school? Any advice that you would have for them in their search here?
Hi, I was just about to type in the chat, but now I can say it. Someone had said, do they have time to do everything? And I can say again that my daughter has done band and theater arts, both semesters, both middle school years, and has participated in the concerts after school and the play after school. And, you know, I would really encourage people to encourage your children to just, you know, let them jump in and do as much as they can do, because the teachers are very willing to support them. And I can add that Jane was in the Nutcracker, which didn't happen this year, but happened last year. As I said before, never danced before, but was so thrilled to be in that production and was welcomed in that production, even though she had not danced before. And that's still a highlight for her of her middle school years.
Really, really helpful. Yeah, I appreciate that. Let me go to Steve really quickly, and then Derek, I'm going to go to your hand raised if that's okay. Steve, what's your advice for a potential middle school family considering this place?
My advice is similar to what other parents have said, but it's more reiterating what I've recognized, is that everyone at the school is trying to help your students succeed, and they want to make it happen. So their natural instinct is to say, yes, let's figure out how to make anything happen. And they will tailor the needs and the desires of your student to figure out how to make that work. And I've been, you know, overwhelmed with the support that everyone has given both of my kids at Flint Hill, and think that it just, you will be able to figure out what you want to do, and they will be able to help you make it happen.
Thanks. Derek, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I know that one of the things that we used to hear a lot when families would visit the school and ask questions about the Fine Arts Department is that a lot of people tend to be surprised that our classes are offered during the day and they're not an extra thing that happens after school or before school. I just wanted to be clear that I think almost all of these classes are things that are offered during the day as part of the curriculum, which I think is a real testament to Flint Hill embracing both of these very diverse and kind of important tracks of education into the regular school day. So, Alec, you also did point out that there are opportunities. Say you couldn't find a way to fit theater into your schedule, there are after-school productions that are available, like the musicals, the plays, all that stuff. There are opportunities to engage in alternative ways. So, I mean, to kind of piggyback off of everybody else, do as much as you can, because it is truly a wonderful way to go through your time at Flint Hill. So I just wanted to put that out there.
I really appreciate that, Derek. And I think it's one thing is, as we take a step back at the macro viewpoint, that's a really deliberate philosophy for us here at Flint Hill, is to be able to provide that opportunity, but also to be really mindful of, as I'm learning, certainly in Northern Virginia, we get some really overscheduled kids here. And we try to build in as much as we can within the parameters of the school day, whether it's through our fine arts and innovation classes, or at the middle school level, athletics is incorporated within the school day at the end of the day. So that way I don't have to make that choice. Do I want to be in the play, or do I want to play, soccer or whatever? And so we can have those balance points to be able to work with our kids as well. But we are very much a process-driven school in how we grow our kids and how we partner with families into their support for them within this. And while I know we're talking about do as much as possible, it's also not a really harried school. Yes, there are stressful points in time, but this is not a pressure cooker environment, as you could tell from just the nature in which our teachers speak about our kids, or perhaps the ways in which some of our parents have spoken about their child's student-teacher relationships. In being a process-driven school, it's not one in which we are sitting here saying your grade, your score, your test result, or if your performance is not perfect, everything else is less than. Rather, we really do try to focus on supporting each individual child in those ways too. So if it sounds like a lot, it is, but it's also not an environment, just to be clear, in which our kids are on roller skates all around campus trying to do anything and everything. They find their spots, they find their people, and we support them within that, which is, I think, really, really helpful too. I cannot thank all of you as our student panelists, our parent panelists, and our faculty here for all of your help and your perspective here tonight, as well as for the many great questions. As we wrap it up here, I'm going to kick it over to Lauren, who's going to bring us home with any next steps and details from an admissions perspective as well for our families.
Thank you so much, Patrick. And thank you again. I echo his sentiment. This is always one of my favorite events, and I always learn something new. So just thank you for your time to our faculty members, to our panelists. I think you certainly are making my job easier right now in articulating these wonderful, wonderful programs that we offer. And so I know some of you are really deep into the admission process and maybe have completed your applicant's file at this time. And some of you may just be learning about Flint Hill, and this could have just been the first point of engagement. So again, thank you for spending your night with us. Our application deadline is coming up in a couple weeks, but for those of you who are just getting started or thinking about submitting an application, there is still time, and we'd love to hear from you. So you can find us on the Flint Hill website. All of the admission officers' email addresses and phone numbers are listed. Please give us a call to learn more about not just our innovation and fine arts programs, which are incredible, as you've heard tonight, but the rest of our academic programs and extracurricular offerings at Flint Hill. So thank you again to everyone. We wish you a wonderful evening and happy almost Friday. Take care.
Thanks, everyone. Have a great evening. Go Huskies.